In the conservation biogeography, we will be discussing what is behind the biodiversity crisis. When habitat is damaged, fragmented, restructured, or completely destroyed, the biodiversity will decrease. And so is the case in the rest of the cases which are enlisted here. For example, when exotic species replace native species, when the biophysical conditions change more rapidly, when the natural resources are exploited unsustainably, and these all things will result into the decrease of the biodiversity. Once a population has been driven to very low numbers, stochastic factors such as demographic shifts, genetic degradation, and chance environmental events such as disease outbreaks or unusual weather events can wipe out the last few individuals, causing the extinctions. If the population is more, all of these things are much more bearable for an organism. अगर population ज़्यादा हो तो कुछ ना कुछ ऐसे जानदार ज़रूर होंगे जो कि इन तमाम मसाइब का सामना करेंगे, लेकिन वो ज़िंदा रहेंगे, सर्वाइव करेंगे, एंड देन दे विल लाइकली टू बी रिप्रोड्यूस, एंड वो स्पीशी को जारी रखेंगे. लेकिन जब पॉपुलेशन एक मखसूस लेवल से कम हो जाती है, देन दैट स्पीशी इज मेंट टू बी एक्सटिंक्ट ड्यू टू ऑल ऑफ दीज फैक्टर्स. The single factor responsible for the greatest reduction of the biodiversity during the Anthropocene, undoubtedly habitat loss. So habitat loss is one of the major factors due to which the species biodiversity is decreasing. In Europe, large-scale habitat loss has been going on for millennia. Britain's once vast forests have been largely reduced to small fragments. So loss of Britain's forests must have been catastrophic for a population of woodland species such as bears, wolves, beavers, which are eventually succumbed to the pressures of small population size and overexploitation in the Middle Ages. So all of these organisms are in very precarious stages or have been extinct due to the overexploitation and due to the small populations. So in the North America, until the beginning of the 18th century, deforestation was relatively small scale and mainly consequence of clearance of subsistence farming by both indigenous people and the growing population of European immigrant and their descendants. So as we have discussed earlier, that North America was relatively untouched by the humans, and only subsistence farming Native Americans were living there. Once the Europeans have gone there, they started cutting the forest and started farming there, and this decreased the forests, and it led to the deforestation, and it also led to the habitat loss for the native organisms that were living there. So then there are the tropical forests. Tropical forests originally covered between 14 and 18 million kilometers squares, but by the late 1980s, only about half that area remained. So 1980s में ये area half रह गया था. So a high resolution satellite study from the 2030 indicates that 2.3 million kilometers square of the forest was lost between 2000 and 2012. So in 12 years, we have lost 2.3 million kilometers square of the forest. So, and then there is the human exploitation. Overhunting and overharvesting may be the second most important cause of the species extinction. So if we are eating or if we are hunting more, then the species can replenish their stocks. A very potent example in this case is the fish. So we are overfishing in our oceans, we are cutting more trees, we are hunting more animals. So all of these result into the species extinction. In the Central and West Africa found that 177 wild species from 25 orders are hunted for meat, with 31 species classified threatened by the International Union of Conservation of Nature. So all of these species were related to the animals, wild animals, The meat of the wild animal is called bush meat, and it is a delicacy in the sub-Saharan Africa. The African people like it. So what happens when you are hunting them, and you are hunting them, overhunting them and over exploiting this resource, what will happen? These organisms will went extinct. So the threat of pesticides and other toxicants is perhaps the less visible than it once was. However, there is increasing recognition that less toxic but more widely used compounds may be having considerable effects on the ecosystems. And there is more potent and more discussed about effect which is called climate change. Climate is a crucial factor for an organism's ecology, physiology, and behavior. So the implications of changing climate are inherently complex to predict. There is an enormous challenge to biogeographers wishing to predict how individual organisms and ecosystem will respond. So biogeographers are trying, ये कोशिश कर रहे हैं biogeographers कि किसी तरह से हम देखें कि changing climate, how it is affecting the biodiversity, how it is affecting the ecology in different areas of the world. And this is what we will be discussing in the next topic.